A school bus in America is allowed to do exactly one job: carry children to school for 12 years and then disappear. After 12 years, no matter how well the engine runs, the district retires it, auctions it off, and parks it behind a chain-link fence to rust. Which is strange, because mechanics will tell you those buses have at least 20 more good years in them. And right now, more than 300 people who were sleeping in cars and under overpasses are cooking dinner, doing homework, and locking their doors at night inside those exact buses. This village has no fence and no single address. It's scattered across Oregon, North Carolina, and even England, growing one yellow bus at a time. And it all traces back to a journalist who gave up her apartment on purpose. But before you meet her, step inside one of these homes, because the inside is the part nobody expects. From the parking lot of the RV park, it still looks like a school bus. Yellow paint, black lettering, the same folding door you climbed through as a kid. Instead of assembled from gas station shelves. And at night, the solar batteries hum quietly, while 9 feet of steel and insulation sit between a sleeping child and the weather. People who have lived through both the car version and the bus version of the same life will tell you the difference isn't comfort. It's that your shoulders finally come down. Outreach workers see the opposite condition constantly in people still outside. Months of sleeping unprotected trains the brain to keep one ear open, listening for footsteps, and that alarm doesn't switch off just because a door finally locks. Sleep researchers have a name for it: hypervigilance, and parents in cars get the worst of it because they're not just guarding themselves, they're guarding the back seat. Ask a mother what changed when she moved from a parking lot into a bus with a deadbolt, and she usually won't mention the kitchen or the shower. She'll tell you about the first night she slept all the way through. So who thought of this? Her name is Julie Akins. She was a freelance reporter in Ashland, Oregon, a small town near the California a crisis, and a blueprint, because the bus itself wasn't the problem. The bus was the strongest, most weatherproof structure that family could ever hope to access. It just hadn't been finished. That's the moment the idea locked into place. In 2017, she launched a nonprofit called Vehicles for Changes with one goal: take retired school buses, the ones districts sell off or donate after their 12-year rotation, and convert them into complete tiny homes. Not campers, homes. They called the first one Betsy the Wonder Bus. The night Betsy was finished, the rain was coming down sideways, and the volunteers had exactly 1 hour to move the bus into its spot at an RV park outside Ashland, plug it into power, test the hot water, and get a fire going in the brand new wood stove. Year until one lease renewal finally lands out of reach. For someone who worked 40 years and did everything right, the distance between a paid-off recliner and the front seat of a Buick can be a single letter from a landlord. So why buses? Why does this specific idea keep spreading when so many housing programs stall out? Because when you put the numbers on paper, the spreadsheet does most of the arguing. Start with the shell. A retired school bus is often donated by the school district for free or sold for a few $1,000s at auction. Compare that to pouring a foundation and framing even the smallest conventional structure. The bus arrives with its walls, roof, floor, wiring channels, and windows already built. As one builder on the project put it, "You're not building a house, you're finishing one." Then there's speed. A conventional affordable housing project can take 5 years to permit and construct. A bus conversion takes months, sometimes weeks with enough volunteers. And for the family sleeping in a sedan tonight, a building permit scheduled for 2031 might as well not exist. A bus that's ready by spring is a different kind of promise. But the feature that makes buses genuinely different from every other form of homeless housing is hiding in plain sight: the wheels. A converted bus still drives. If work dries up in one town, the home moves with the family to the next one. Akins heard this over and over during her 2 years in the tents. People weren't just trapped without housing, they were trapped in place, unable to chase the jobs that could have pulled them out. A schoolie, as these conversions are called, breaks that trap. It's the only housing solution in America where the house itself can commute. And here's the part almost no shelter program on earth can offer. The buses park legally at RV parks, hooked into power and water like any other RV, with the nonprofit covering the rent for the first 6 months. After that, families lease the bus themselves, and eventually, they're offered the chance to buy it outright. The end point of this program isn't a bed, it's ownership. A family that was sleeping in a sedan can, step by step, become a family that owns its home free and clear, with no landlord who can ever raise the rent past what they can afford again. Which, for most of these families, is the exact wound that put them on the street in the first place. The conversions themselves are a story of their own. Most of these buses aren't rebuilt by contractors on a payroll. They're rebuilt by retirees with tool belts, church groups on Saturday mornings, and builders like Alex Danielle, a man who had already spent years designing tiny houses for the homeless in Eugene, Oregon, before he saw what Aikens was doing and simply showed up to help. The materials come from wherever generosity can find them. Reclaimed wood pulled from remodeled homes, flooring rescued from online marketplaces, discounted lumber from the returns rack at the hardware store. One builder turned a stainless steel door salvaged from a public bathroom renovation into a kitchen backsplash. And the volunteers describe the same strange moment in every build. Somewhere around the time the bed frames go in, the thing stops feeling like a bus. The yellow paint is still on the outside, but inside, it's already. According to federal counts, the number of homeless veterans in America has climbed past 35,000, rising more than 7% in a single year. 35,000 people who wore a uniform and now sleep somewhere that isn't a bed. Several of the groups building bus and tiny home conversions now focus specifically on them, because a person who made it through a deployment deserves better than a stretch of pavement when they get back. But here's what most people don't realize. Many veterans, and many families in general, are sleeping outside while housing programs and benefits they already qualify for sit unclaimed, not because they don't qualify, but because nobody ever showed them the path. And the paperwork is designed like a maze. That's exactly why we put together a free guide called The Veteran's Blueprint. The link is in the description below. It walks through, step by step, the housing routes, benefit programs, and emergency resources that go unclaimed every year, laid out in plain language, in the order you'd actually use them. housing that was supposed to come next. But the people who work with these families point at something the critics' spreadsheets can't hold, and Atkins learned it in her 2 years in the tents. If families don't get split apart and the kids stay in school, they usually don't end up on the street long term. But once somebody's been on the street for a while, it's hard to find their way back in. That's the entire strategy in 2 lines. Homelessness isn't only a housing problem, it's a momentum problem. A family in a car is still a family, still holding jobs, still enrolled in school, still one break away from recovering. A family that shatters into shelters and foster care may never reassemble. 240 square feet of bus isn't much, but it's enough to keep a family in one piece while they climb, and that quietly rewrites the future of every child inside it. 1 bus per year sounds small until you count the kids. And what about the neighbors? Almost every community that hosts a project like this braces for the same fight, because supporting an idea in the abstract is easy, and welcoming it onto your own street is harder. Part of why the RV park model works is that it sidesteps the argument entirely. A converted bus at an RV park isn't an encampment. It's an RV paying whether a converted school bus beats the back seat of a car. Of course it does. The real question is how many footholds we're willing to build, and how fast, for the hundreds of thousands still waiting for their first one. Because 300 people are now living proof that the answer can be built from things we were about to throw away. So what does that say about everything else and everyone else we've decided is past saving?